Video game bosses are designed to be challenging. They're roadblocks at key points within the action that are intended to test the player's skill to see if they're ready to advance to the next level, where an inevitably harder boss will be waiting for them to do the same again. But you know what? Not every boss is made equally, however. While some will pose little threat and can be breezily beaten in a single try, others can become hours of frustration as players attempt to memorize their movesets while searching for the optimum strategies to take them down. And then there are some bosses who have attacks that are so powerful that they're capable of instantly killing players and their companions in a single hit, which, let me tell ya, ain't no rainbow rhythms, mate. So let's have a chat about them. As I'm Jules, this is WhatCulture.com, and these are 10 instant kill boss fights that were just insulting. Number 10, Ramon Salazar, Resident Evil 4 2023 version. The Resident Evil series is full of enemies that can kill players in a single hit. From Hunter Gammas that devour Jill Hole to the chainsaw-wielding Dr. Salvador, who is eager to dismember Leon, there is no shortage of ways to meet a quick and brutal end in this franchise. Many of the bosses from this series also come with their own fatal attacks. One of the most annoying, however, belongs to Resident Evil 4's Ramon Salazar, a central figure within the Los Illuminados cult. Despite his diminutive stature and overly exocentric personality, Salazar nevertheless transforms into a monstrous and imposing boss when confronted by Leon towards the end of the second act. He may not be the most challenging boss in this game, but his instant kill attack in which he crushes Leon with his massive jaws still makes him dangerous to fight. While this attack was only triggered while standing in a specific area in the original game, Salazar can now unleash this move at any point in the remake. The attack is well telegraphed and gives players enough time to get out of the way, but there's something deeply insulting about being instantly killed by a villain whose main weakness is, let me check my notes here, egg. Number 9, Fire Armadillo, Ninja Gaiden 2 Black. Ninja Gaiden 2 was already an incredible game in 2008. Team Ninja then took everything that made the title great and made it even better with Ninja Gaiden 2 Black. Staying true to the original's lightning-fast action and in-depth combat, the remake is just as unforgivingly difficult. However, the boss fights are where the main challenges lie. Between supernatural ninjas, giant monsters, and demons, each boss is as brutally punishing as the last, with each being capable of eviscerating players in a single combo. And then there are even some who can defeat hero Ryu with one hit, and one such boss is the Fire Armadillo. Fought at the end of Chapter 9 immediately after defeating Genshin and escaping his flying fortress, players will already be on the back foot when this fiery monster appears. With the player's resources drained from the previous fight, surviving this boss's barrage of boulders becomes even harder. Keep landing attacks though, and the player will eventually be able to perform a stylish execution to cement their victory. However, this cunning monster has one last trick left. Upon defeat, the Armadillo triggers a gigantic explosion, incinerating any unsuspecting player who stands too close. After 2 back-to-back bosses, this is a painful way to go out. Number 8, Captain Ferris, the Kalisto Protocol. Helmed by Dead Space creator Glenn Schofield, the Kalisto Protocol shares a lot of its DNA with the classic sci-fi horror. Although it didn't hit the same heights as its predecessor, it nevertheless did provide plenty of atmospheric chills and grisly death animations to delight horror fans. As protagonist Jacob Lee makes his way through the Black Iron Prison and its surrounding facilities, players are faced with all sorts of monstrous enemies eager to turn Jacob into a gory pulp. But the enemy who will definitely be doing this the most is the final boss, Captain Ferris. After a first phase where Ferris and Jacob exchange blows in a harder version of an earlier encounter, the proper boss fight begins when Ferris transforms into a nightmarish mass of hulking flesh that will ruthlessly charge towards players throughout the sequence. It's vital that players stay as far away as possible from Ferris whenever they hear their pounding footsteps, because a single melee attack is enough to tear Jacob apart. Not only is this a lengthy fight, but getting stuck in the environment is all too easy when trying to dodge his attacks. The combination resulted in a lot of cheap deaths, which quickly turned this climactic battle into a frustrating slog. Number 7, Shadowcursed Shambling Mound, Baldur's Gate 3. Even on its regular difficulty settings, Baldur's Gate 3's need for careful and creative strategizing makes it a challenging game to play. And nowhere is this better seen than with its assortment of bosses, each of which poses a pretty serious threat. While the third act is home to some of this title's most epic encounters, the most formidable is found in the previous section, and it takes the form of the Shadow-Cursed Shambling Mound. Located just south of the Last Light Inn within the Shadow-Cursed lands, players have a high chance of running into this large carnivorous plant plant while exploring the area. Alongside ambushing players with a surprise attack and being accompanied by a mob of enemies, the most dangerous aspect of this boss is its ability to devour players and their parties whole. Now, for this to happen, a character must be both restrained and coated in the boss's digestive juices. Not only does this disadvantage imposed by being restrained make it harder to avoid the digestive juices, but the boss and its minions can entangle the heroes in vines during their turns. It's therefore incredibly easy to become this creature's next meal, with a handful of unlucky rolls being all it takes to see an entire party eaten alive. Number 6. Yosuke Tendo, Yakuza Like a Dragon. For as endearingly silly as the Yakuza series can be, these games aren't without their challenging moments as well. Whenever players aren't completing wacky side quests or indulging in extended karaoke sessions, they'll be faced with some pretty difficult bosses. And one such opponent is Yosuke from Yakuza Like a Dragon, a former boxing champion turned Yakuza patriarch. This penultimate boss hits hard and can withstand a lot of punishment. But if you manage to whittle his health down to the halfway point, he'll also then equip brass knuckles to kickstart the second phase. And he'll have even more attacks at his disposal now. The most dangerous, however, comes whenever he raises his arms and begins glowing pink. I mean, it's never a good sign when a boss has a charged attack, and this one is no exception. When ready, Yosuke unleashes a devastating punch called God's Right Hand that instantly takes out whoever it connects with. While having a character down during an important fight is never ideal, the situation is infinitely worse if it's Ichiban who's targeted. With no way to block the attack, Ichiban's death means it's an instant game over, and there was nothing that players could do to stop it. Number 5. Bad Girl, No More Heroes. Coming from the mind of cult icon Suda51, No More Heroes is just as insane and over the top as all of his other works like Killer 7 and Lollipop Chainsaw. Originally released for the Wii in 2007, the plot sees anime-obsessed otaku Travis Touchdown accept an assassination contract to earn some money after going broke buying a laser katana, as you do. This consequently puts him in the sights of the League of Assassins, who he must then kill to claim the top rank for himself. After slaying most of the eccentric and oddball killers, Travis faces Bad Girl, the second highest ranking assassin. A psychotic killer who murders a conveyor belt of victims with a baseball bat, this boss can inflict brutal combos and launch enemies at players. During the fight, she can also collapse on the floor and begin crying. And while this could be an opportunity to land some free hits when she's vulnerable, well, it could also be a trap, my friend, because pay attention to where her hands are. If she has one on her weapon, getting too close to her will see her lunge at Travis before viciously beating him to death in what was definitely a cruel trick from the developers. Number 4. The Reaper, Persona 5. The Persona games have been delighting RPG fans with their vibrant style, epic storytelling and in-depth gameplay since 1996 as they fight their way through elaborate dungeons and battle memorable bosses. While each entry is its own self-contained narrative, the series does actually contain some reoccurring characters, the most formidable of which is the Reaper. Persona's version of Death, the Reaper appears as an optional boss across several of the games. In Persona 5, for example, they appear in the Mementos dungeon whenever players spend too long on a single floor. Hang around for more than 2 minutes and the sound of rattling chains lets players know that this boss has arrived and will soon begin to chase them down. And if you get caught, players will then be thrown into what is easily the game's toughest fight. The Reaper has a lot of defense, hits hard, and is immune to instant kill attacks. While players can't achieve a quick victory, the Reaper's own arsenal of one-hit kills definitely means that they can wipe out the entire party with ease, especially if players aren't at a high enough level. Having the entire party killed by death is a pretty strong punishment for those who dawdle around a little too long, right? Number 3. Mike Tyson, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out! Long before Ornstein and Smo were flattening players in Dark Souls, the pinnacle of difficult video game bosses was Mike Tyson in the NES boxing game Mike Tyson's Punch-Out! Earning a reputation for knocking out many of his challengers within the first round, the undefeated champion was a ferocious force to be reckoned with inside the ring. It was only fitting then that his video game counterpart lived up to the champion's name. After battling the game's roster of 13 other charismatic and memorable fighters that put up their own challenge, the time then came to go toe-to-toe against Iron Mike himself. Possessing a flurry of jabs and body blows that will have underdog hero Little Mac hitting the canvas before players know what happened, the fight plays out pretty much like Tyson's own matches. The most dangerous part of the fight is in its first 90 seconds. It's here where Tyson can perform powerful uppercuts that will knock players out in a single blow. A defeat will then send players back to the start of the game, where they'll have to earn their rematch. Toppling Tyson requires near-perfect precision in what is still regarded as one of the most difficult video game boss battles ever. Number 2. Promised Consort Rodan, Elden Ring Shadow of the Erd Tree. When it came to From Software bosses, none have been as challenging as those in Elden Ring. While Melania is often regarded as being one of the game's toughest fights, even she couldn't compare to what awaited players within the Shadow of the Erdtree expansion. Raising the difficulty to extreme heights, each boss pushed the player's skills to their limits. However, none were as punishing as Consort Rodan, the final boss. More than a rematch with an already difficult foe, this younger version of the demigod is faster, stronger, and has an arsenal of long combos that can easily eat whole health bars. The fight only gets harder when he enters his second phase. Aided by his brother Mikola, Rodan's combos now come with explosive holy damage. His deadliest attack, though, is his grab, in which Mikola charms players by taking them in a loving embrace. Although the charm's effects appear harmless, it's vital that players dispel this as soon as possible, because if you get embraced a second time when the charm is still active, well, you will be killed instantly. After surviving everything the DLC has thrown at players, being defeated by a hug at the final hurdle, well, that was a tough pill to swallow. And number 1, Sepharoth, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. The second installment of Square Enix's epic remake of Final Fantasy VII, Rebirth follows Cloud, Aerith and friends as they venture out into the world in pursuit of main antagonist Sepharoth. After spending dozens of hours connecting with each party member, the time comes to face the villain in a climactic showdown. Comprised of multiple stages in which groups of companions fight against the different versions of him, this is a gigantic sequence which can take upwards of 2 hours to complete. But if you make it through each part of this marathon fight, players will reach the final and most difficult part of the encounter. Sepharoth doesn't hold anything back as Cloud and Aerith team up to take down the one-winged angel. Equipped with new powerful attacks, Sepharoth is even more dangerous than before, with its most powerful move coming once players get his health low enough. At this point, he'll trigger the ominously named The End Is Nigh and unleash one last attack. Known as Tempus Finis, this move sees Sepharoth deploy a whirlwind of magic capable of one-shotting anyone it hits, consequently putting a swift end to a pretty arduous fight. Being taken out so unceremoniously, so close to victory, is nothing less than cruel. And there we go, my friends. Those were 10 instant kill boss fights that were just insulting. Hope you enjoyed that, and let me know what you thought about it down in the comment section below. And while you're down there, why don't you go also and follow me over on Blue Sky and Instagram, where it's at RetroJVideo0. Hope to see you over there, my friends, and hope that you're treating yourself well. Big love to you, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.